The big story, of course, is Dayanidhi Maran, who has handed in his resignation. Rahul Srivastav, Shweta Rajpal Kohli and Arunachalam Vaidyanathan are joining us. Rahul, this was possibly inevitable.
Yes, Amita, very little options left, primarily because yesterday Mr Manmohan Singh, Sonia Gandhi and the political advisor Ahmed Patel had met, and the CBI status report perhaps not only pointed fingers of suspicion, but the status report actually said that the minister perhaps coerced one company into selling out stake, and that company was perhaps given a sweetheart deal in a company owned by his family. Perhaps that was too strong an indictment by the CBI, and questioning and all this would have been messy business. What we are hearing, backroom channels operated between the DMK and the Congress, and perhaps, as you're saying, yes, it was inevitable. But from here on, very tough time for the government, because if you listen to Mr Dipankar Mukherjee also, what he was saying, yes, Maran had to resign, Maran had to go, but what was the Prime Minister doing? The target of all this will be Dr. Manmohan Singh once again. Why? Because if you look at the history of the entire 2G spectrum allocation, it was sometime in Mr. Maran's time that the whole thing started. The first come, talk about the first come serve, first serve basis. Also the fact that the GOM, which was constituted by Dr. Manmohan Singh to look into the spectrum allocation issue, the pricing issue of spectrum was kept out primarily at the insistence of Mr. Dayanidhi Maran. And at that time, if the sources and the opposition are saying, and they are openly saying now, that if the Prime Minister had acted strongly, at that time this wouldn't have happened. They're also saying perhaps, it also perhaps shows that it also will have an imprint on the whole cabinet expansion thing. With Mr. Maran, Dayanidhi Maran out, perhaps the Prime Minister might be forced to look into this whole issue of cabinet expansion and how to perhaps give new shape and direction to his Council of Ministers.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone, fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.